You're listening to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast with Mike Chappell and Dave Griffiths.
Hey, you talked about it, man. All it takes is one. How about that defense today? Three takeaways on defense. They went for 63 on the ground. Hell of a job. And then offensively, 150 on the ground. Hell of a job there. Hey, this is just the beginning, though. Hey, let's be real now. We got a lot of stuff to clean up. Got a lot of stuff to clean up, right? So we got to get that cleaned up tomorrow, right? And then you guys got your day off on Tuesday, and then we come back on Wednesday, and we got Pittsburgh at home. It's time to go again, all right? That's good? All right, let's go. What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, that's the first one of many. Shout out to the defense for sticking in there with us. Playing hard. We appreciate that. O-line, great job blocking for JT. Trey, good job getting that box. Hey, I'm going to perform better for y'all boys. I got y'all. But great team victory. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. 3, 1, 2, 3.
That was Anthony Richardson, preceded by Colts coach Shane Steichen in a jubilant locker room after the Colts managed a 21-16 win at Lucas Oil Stadium against the Chicago Bears. A very partisan Chicago crowd at that game, but the Colts at home needed to win, and they got one. I'm Matt Adams. This is the Colts Blue Zone Podcast recap episode where we look at the game, break down some of the things that happened, look at some stats. I'll even hand out a couple of game balls toward the end of this. We'll also hear again from Coach Steichen, his post-game availability, and we'll hear from quarterback Anthony Richardson. Well, in the end, it's a 21-16 win for the Colts against the Chicago Bears in a game that, was close to unwatchable in the first half, which those teams combined for like 70 yards of offense between the two of them, and it was ugly. We had a goal line stand. We had missed field goals. We had one of the worst interceptions you'll probably ever see in any NFL game, and all combined for a 7-0 lead there for the Colts at halftime. Just to recap, the Bears' first drive ended with a long missed field goal. The teams after that punted 4 straight times before Anthony Richardson got the Colts down inside the red zone, down near the goal line, and the Colts looked like they were poised to score the first touchdown of the game. So Richardson rolls to his left, and there is nothing there. There are like 4 defenders between him and the end zone, and it's a third down play. Your probably best option is to either tuck it and run, which in that particular situation I don't think would have worked out very well. I don't think he could have gotten in, or you just throw the ball away. And the one thing that you don't do is you put the ball into harm's way. And I know it got tipped there at the last second, but I think even if the ball placement is great on that play, I don't think he hits the receiver in the corner. It's just an inexplicable decision there. Not quite Will Levis level or Carson Wentzian level of interception there, but that was a rough one for the Colts because I think a score there would have really put a lot of pressure on the Bears. But you know what? On that drive, it's such a thing that we've talked about in this podcast many, many times before. It's just one of those things we are going to have to just kind of get used to. These ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of Anthony Richardson, the decision maker, Anthony Richardson, the passer. And it's just one of those things that we're going to have to live with, because on that same drive, before that bad decision, before that interception, he rainbowed a nice throw to Alec Pierce for 44 yards, aired one out. He got past the best Bears cornerback, Pierce did, and then Richardson hit him with a nice pass. And that set up that whole thing where it looked like the Colts were going to get the first score of the game, but ultimately that was not the case, and that's not what happened. Fortunately for the Colts, they played a team this week that had a really bad offense. And the numbers for the Bears in the end don't look all that bad. Caleb Williams, the rookie quarterback, did have more than 350 yards passing, but he also had a couple of interceptions. The Bears were not able to score in a goal line situation of their own, and he also had a critical sack fumble that he took at a absolutely critical moment in this game that really turned things around, and I'll talk about that one a little bit later. But, right after the interception from Anthony Richardson there in the end zone, a few plays later, when the Bears were trying to drive and maybe get on the board in this game, they were unable to because Caleb Williams got undercut on the throw by Jalen Jones from the Colts, who picked off his first interception of his career, first interception of the season, his first interception of the game, because he added a second one later. So kind of the inconsistency of these offenses kind of complemented each other in this game. And it was sort of one of those games where, like, does anybody, in the first half especially, does anybody want to score? Does anybody know how to play offensive football? Because it sure didn't look like it for a long time. As I said, Richardson got intercepted in the end zone, and then the Bears, with a chance to get some momentum, get some positive things going on offense, on an offense that has struggled all season long so far with his rookie quarterback, just turns the ball right back over to the Colts. Now, the Colts got the score of the only score of the half came on a 29-yard run from Jonathan Taylor. On that same drive, Anthony Richardson hit Kylan Granson for a 40-yard pass. So, yes, the tight end does exist within the structure of this Colts offense. We saw a big play from Granson. And Richardson completed only 10 passes in this game, but he had 167 passing yards because when he does throw, it tends to be deep, and he hit two deep balls again this weekend. And this is against the Bears defense that is specifically designed to limit those types of plays. But, individual players make plays, and sometimes you do get good throws from your quarterback. So that 40-yard reception to Kylan Granson set up the 29-yard run from Jonathan Taylor. And it was a thing of beauty for those of you who've watched the highlight a couple of times, because we saw one of our favorite things in football, and that is the Jonathan Taylor jump cut. Just happens so fast, and then boom, that guy is gone 29 yards in the end zone, and that gave the Colts a 7-point lead there. And then really the defense kept him in this game, and you can either call it good defense or bad offense. You can look at it either way, I think, because I saw some things from the Chicago Bears that were pretty ugly on the offensive side of things. And likewise with the Colts. Like, it was not a great day for offense, especially there in the first half. But the defense did hold up with a goal line stand. You start to wonder if perhaps the speed option should just get chucked out of the playbooks from the professional level, because we saw the Colts try to run the speed option last week in a 3rd and short situation where Jonathan Taylor had been going pretty good. They decided to bring in Trey Sermon, and then they ran the speed option. Sermon got hit for like a 4-yard loss, and that really ended up with a missed field goal, if I recall correctly, last week. Well, for the Bears, they got themselves into a 4th and goal situation, and they decided to go for the speed option as well, and it never had a chance. Just absolutely swallowed up by the Colts for a huge loss on the play. And, so if you're going to go for it and you're not going to take the points, that's fine, but draw up something that, has a chance of working. And, for the Colts, Coach Steichen, we'll hear from him in a few minutes, but he basically said on that interception in the end zone for Richardson that the play that they had called up, the Bears had the perfect counter for that play, and that there was really nobody open for Richardson to throw the ball to, which I completely agree with. And but he should have thrown that ball away, or maybe just tucked and run it out of bounds or whatever. And I know it's a 3rd down play. If you don't get in the end zone, then you're going to get a field goal. But 3 points better than turning the ball over. And the Colts were just fortunate that the ineptitude of the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams being a rookie just turned the ball right back over to them. So some growing pains from both these young quarterbacks. And I say that, and it results in some pretty ugly football. But, the speed option, don't know that anybody wants to see that in an NFL game anymore. Because, you can run that in college, and there are fast players in college, yes, for the defense. But it's just a whole nother level in the NFL. And you're trying to go horizontal on teams. It can work. We've seen some effective edge running, especially against the Colts, on with jet sweep motion and that sort of thing. But boy, that speed option just doesn't seem like it has been very effective, at least the 2 times I have seen it so far this season, both in Colts games, with the Colts running it and getting burned by it, and then Chicago doing the same thing. And somehow theirs was even worse than what the Colts ran last week. But, the consistency on offense for the Colts is something that is severely lacking, that they're going to have to improve if this football team wants to be anything, any type of factor in the division down the stretch. They did get a break this week with the Houston Texans losing to the Vikings, and then the Titans, a miserable 0-3 start for them, and then Jacksonville playing the Monday night game. So they haven't won a game yet either. So the only 2 teams to win games so far are the Colts and the Texans within the division, and then we'll see what Jacksonville does on Monday Night Football. And, like I said, the consistency there from Anthony Richardson just not there. And he had some guys on some wide open throws that would have kept drives alive and sustained them. And I don't know if it's footwork. I don't know if he just gets too antsy and tries to get too cute and tries to take some off the ball or whatever. But man, one he sailed to Josh Downs would have set him up for a really nice drive, and continued it, and just, it was 10 yards over his head. It just, and we know that these are things that he needs to work on, and we're well aware that these are things that in the evaluation of Anthony Richardson coming out of college, we knew he had to work on. And it's just not something that's magic that happens overnight. I know that, looking at social media during the game, there were a lot of calls for people to be like, Anthony Richardson can't throw, put in Joe Flacco. Listen, people, Anthony Richardson was the 4th overall pick of the NFL draft, and the Indianapolis Colts are going to ride him all the way, because this is a staff. There's a big difference here, because we talked about Bryce Young and how he's been benched for the Carolina Panthers only to see the Red Rifle Andy Dalton have a great game for Carolina. But there's a big difference. And the big difference is that the Colts front office and the Colts coach that they currently have wanted Anthony Richardson and believe they can make him into a viable NFL quarterback. The coaching staff at Carolina is not the same coaching staff that had Bryce Young thrown into the fold. And so it's a completely different situation. The talent level between the 2 teams, as much as you want to criticize Ballard's roster, is considerably different. And yet you saw what a quarterback change did for Carolina, and you think, well, the Colts should do the same thing and put Joe Flacco in. And again, this is the guy the owner wanted. This is the guy the GM wanted. This is the guy the coaching staff wanted. They have designed their offense around Anthony Richardson's mobility and decision-making, and we're just going to have to live with it. And essentially, it is his, 6th start in the league, or 7th start. I'm sorry. This is their 3rd game of the season. And so we're just going to have to live with it. And in this particular day, because of the way the defense played, because of the limitations of the opponent, it worked. And the Colts were able to get a W out of things. But still, between the Green Bay game and the game that we saw against the Bears, not a lot of super positive things for Anthony Richardson to come out of that, as far as completion percentage, and he didn't even really use his legs. He ran a couple of times in this game, but didn't really use his legs. There were a couple of times on the read option where I think he could have pulled it and gotten around the edge. But again, I'm not on the field, not my decision-making process. It's easy to sit back and look at a replay and say those types of things. But if he wants to be an NFL quarterback, and if the Colts want to win and be a significant factor in the AFC South or the AFC overall, then Anthony Richardson has got to get the short and mid passing game figured out. Because, it's great that you could throw the ball 40 yards down the field and hit Alec Pierce perfectly. It's great that you can hit him down the field even farther when you're falling backwards in week 1 and off balance and be able to do that. But you've got to be able to hit that 5 or 10 yard or 15 yard pass where you've got your guy open over the middle. So, we'll see. The half ended on a Hail Mary by the Bears, and they were unable to complete the pass thanks to some good tackling from Julian Blackman and E.J. Speed, I believe, on that play. And just kind of a failed Hail Mary at the end of the half that just falls short was just kind of the vibe of the first half. Now, in the second half, got off to a bad start. The Colts immediately turned the ball over with Richardson sailing a ball high to Pittman. That led to an interception, and then the Bears were finally able to get on the board with a field goal. After a punt by the Colts, Caleb Williams threw another interception, again by Jalen Jones. This one was a real nice one. Not that the other one was not, but this one was a great one. Nick Cross kind of tipped the ball, and Jalen Jones was kind of in the air and kind of snatched it out of the air, but was able to get his feet down in order to get the turnover on that one. Unfortunately, the offense couldn't do much with that one, ended up turning it over on downs. Defense forced another punt, and then the subsequent drive, the Colts were able to get a couple of big plays from JT, 21-yard run, 25-yard reception. They used him quite a bit on that drive, so once they got down to the goal line, the team put in Trey Sermon, who apparently they love. But I also do think that Taylor probably need a little bit of rest because he did have a couple big plays on that drive. He finished things off with a 1-yard run, and that was with Anthony Richardson and the rest of the Colts offense pretty much just pushing him into the end zone. So if anything, I know it was rough to watch at times on the offensive side of things, but I don't think you can question the effort, because you look at a play like that with your quarterback just getting behind the guy and basically acting like an offensive lineman on a sled, chopping his feet and getting the other guy into the end zone. You do have to admire that. So while I said there weren't a lot of great things on offense that the Colts did, that was something that you can hang your hat on, because they did do something as a unit there, and something individually. Anthony Richardson kind of started the whole thing, and then everybody else sort of piled in and pushed Sermon across the line. You do feel kind of bad, though, in some regards for Jonathan Taylor, because he got them to the end zone, but Trey Sermon is the one who got the touchdown. But, JT got a touchdown earlier in the game. He would get one later as well. The 14-3 deficit looked almost insurmountable until the Bears mounted a 7-minute drive, and then they went for the 2-point conversion, didn't get it. That made it 14-9, and you're thinking that they might have some momentum, and then the Colts kind of made you feel even worse, because then they punted pretty much immediately on the ensuing possession. The Colts did. And you're thinking, oh boy, here's the momentum swing. The Bears scored. They've closed it within, 5 points, and the Colts are not going to be able to pull this thing out. Thankfully, there is a guy named Laiatu Latu. He came off the left edge, and he got a Robert Mathis patented sack strip immediately on that first play of the drive for the Bears. Big Grover Stewart's able to recover the fumble. And, so the Colts get the ball, good field position. Jonathan Taylor is able to run it into the end zone on a short run, and suddenly it's 21-9. So, yeah, there was some in-game drama. There was a chance for the Bears to get back into the game, because they did score another touchdown later to make it, 21-16. And so if the Colts were not able to sustain a drive and all of this stuff, then the Bears could conceivably get the ball and have a chance to win the game. But really, Laiatu Latu's sack strip and the subsequent touchdown caused by that effectively ended the game for the Colts. Besides, you did have kind of those white-knuckle moments there down the stretch, but that really pretty much did it. Chicago scored, made it 21-16, as I said. They scored just before the 2-minute warning, and in probably the most befuddling sequence, and there were a few in this game, but the most befuddling sequence to me was the Bears not electing to go for an onside kick. There's virtually no time left. You've got one timeout. You've got the 2-minute warning, and maybe you stop the Colts, and you don't have a lot of time left if you do, but if you go for the onside kick, you have a chance of recovering. That gives you 2 chances maybe to get the ball back. Is it likely that you'll recover the onside kick? Not really. It's got a low success rate, but you may as well try for it when you're desperate and you're a desperate team. You're 0 and you're 1-1. You got your rookie quarterback and you're trying to get back into things. I'd say give it a shot. Anyway, the Bears elect not to go for the onside kick. There was some confusion on the play, and they kick it deep. And I don't know. I don't know what the thought process is. I don't know who talks to who or whatever, but the kick returner in that situation, which I believe was Anthony Gould, you've got to take that ball out of the end zone. There's 2:01 left in the game. It doesn't matter if you get 5, 10, 15 yards. You go ahead and take that ball out of the end zone. Then the 2-minute warning hits, and Chicago has lost what is effectively a second timeout. Instead, we down the ball in the end zone, no time runs off the clock, and so there are 2 clock stoppages left for the Bears. And that also means you have to pick up a first down in order to run out the clock entirely. Now, if they had used the 2-minute warning ahead of time there, gotten out of the end zone on the kickoff, the Colts could have not picked up a first down, given the ball back to the Bears, but there would have been very, very little time left on the clock. And so by not doing that, then it just left that door open just enough in order to maybe make a run at it. But, the good news is the Colts have Jonathan Taylor. It was the fourth quarter. They decided to use him this week. And after a few runs, he was able to get a 13-yard run that was able to make the Bears burn their final timeouts and pick up a first down and a few kneel downs, and the game's over, and the Colts are 1-2, and so are the Bears. So, not a beautiful game by any stretch of the imagination for a team starting the season 0-2 and really having a rough one against Green Bay in Week 2 on the road. A much-needed win. Let's hear from head coach Shane Steichen.
Just injury update. Kenny's got a hip. Quiddy's got a quad. Those are the 2 guys. The music in there going loud right now. Good team win. I mean, shoot, they're hard to come by sometimes in this league, but guys played hard. Defense played their tails off. I think 63 yards on the ground, 3 takeaways. Hell of a job by those guys. But, stuff to clean up, but good to get the first one for sure.
What did it mean for the defense to have that goal line stand?
It was huge. Obviously, down in there, getting that stop was big. I mean, anytime you can get those big stops down in the tight red zone like our D did, the momentum swings a little bit there, obviously. I thought they played a hell of a game.
Shane, you often talk about throw to score, run to win. So how did it feel to have Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson to be able to put away a game like this?
It was big. It was big. Obviously, we had the Q power sweep there at the end, and then pounded in there with JT at the end, and then the 4-minute deal at the end, getting JT around the edge on a no-moss situation, get down, get the first to win it was huge.
Trey Sermon, he looked like he stopped, and then just the entire team gets behind him, push him in there through the yard.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was great. We always talk about pushing the pile. Jim Bob does a hell of a job showing those clips in situational meetings, pushing the pile, and now we got a new one to show.
You kind of noticed it before everybody else. I saw you kind of try to break your 40-time record going up the sideline there. Were you trying to make sure that they didn't whistle it dead?
Oh, I don't even remember. I'm going to go back and look at that.
Was this a game your defense kind of needed just to set a tone?
It was a game we all needed. You know what I mean? Starting 0-2 is always rough, you know what I mean? But you always, got to get the first one, and we got it done today. And, again, we got a lot of stuff to clean up, but to get the victory was huge for our guys.
How did he come up with the quarterback? He's really good on the deep stuff and the short stuff. Is it just technique? Is it footwork?
We just keep working through it. We got to keep working through it. Again, I got all the confidence in the world in him. I just got to keep getting the repetitions in practice and keep getting it going.
How key is that to just sustaining the drives? Because it does feel like you're leaving some easy first downs out there.
Obviously it's big. Obviously getting completions is big. But again, I'm the head coach. I got to do a better job of getting guys open. Me and Jim Bob, and we go from there.
Latu coming up in that moment. Just what does that say about his preparation?
I mean, he was rolling pretty good all game, and he was getting close, and then finally he got one there at the end was huge. And then Jalen Jones to get the 2 interceptions, huge game for him. So it was awesome to see for both those guys.
The first interception that Anthony threw that play on the goal line, what are you guys looking for? Like, what's the?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that one. They played cover 2 there, and we're trying to get man down there. We're in big personnel. They played a shell defense. There was nothing open. That's all.
It was tipped for what that's worth.
Yeah, but I mean, it didn't even matter. They had a good defense called. So.
With Anthony, does it seem like at times he's intentionally trying not to run? Like it seems like there's open lanes there, and he just wants to get rid of it, like with his arm. But He's like trying not to run. Does that make sense?
I don't know. I got to go back and look at that. I think when he has a lane, he'll take it, but I'll look at that.
Coach Jalen, what was different about his game? This was kind of like a coming out game for him.
Yeah, I mean, some of those things, they just come around. You keep working, you keep grinding, and all of a sudden the ball finds you, and guys make plays, and he did a hell of a job today making those plays for us.
Does he have the mental strength? I'm sure he does, but you tell me, to deal with games in a row like this where he's not putting up great numbers.
He's a young player, but he's super positive on the sidelines. I mean, every time we have a bad series, he's like, we're good, we'll get it on the next drive. And you need that at the quarterback position for sure.
So 3 games in, what do you think of Anthony? I know it just happened, but I mean, just what do you can you kind of put in context what you've seen from him so far?
Well, I think he can create the big plays for us for sure. Obviously, young player, stuff to clean up. I can do a better job helping him on certain things, but long season ahead of us, and I'm looking forward to the progress each and every week.
Right now in your run game, it's the more consistent and effective side of things. I mean, do you feel comfortable like leaning into that, or do you feel like there has to be some balance with the pass too?
Yeah, I think if we're running it good, obviously stick with the run. You know what I mean? And JT's running it good. I think we went for a 150 on the ground today. But we got to sustain drives too. You know what I mean? We got to sustain drives, throwing or running the football. We got to sustain drives, and it starts with myself.
What did Jalen's 2 interceptions just do for the team as a whole, momentum-wise?
It's huge. Anytime you get the takeaways, obviously you win the turnover battle, you got a good percentage of winning football games, and we did that today. We had 3 today. But Jalen, obviously being aggressive around the ball, making some big-time plays. Obviously the one on the sidelines, getting 2 feet in there was huge. The other one almost went pick 6 too, which was big. So those guys will keep grinding, you keep working, you put in the preparation week in and week out, and obviously it comes to fruition on Sundays.
Was Latu a game time decision?
Yeah, he was working through that stuff. Yeah.
What made you feel like he was ready to
Well,
go?
he practiced on Friday, so we felt good about that. See how his Friday practice went, and obviously just getting his pregame warm-ups. Felt good.
Right there, but Jalen Jones getting both feet in on both interceptions. Like, what did they say about the detail he puts into the clip?
Yeah, no doubt. We talk about toe drag swag and getting 2 feet in and all those different things, but he did a hell of a job getting 2 feet in, knowing where the sidelines was. What's that? No, we'll keep that defensive back.
Last one challenge the roughing the kicker, or the punter. Did you guys see evidence that maybe the guy tipped it?
Yes.
That was head coach Shane Steichen, and the media availability kind of ended abruptly there. But what Steichen was talking about was a blocked punt that the Colts thought that they had. They got flagged for roughing the punter on the play, and the Bears ended up throwing an interception, so it kind of ended up being a moot point. But the Colts got flagged for roughing the punter, but they were adamant that their player Tyler Goodson had gotten a finger on the ball, and according to Steichen, he had sprained his finger on that play. It was clear and apparent that he'd hit the ball. You look at replays, and even the broadcast team said it was clear that he'd hit the ball. It's just it didn't really change the trajectory of the ball that much. So that's what Steichen was talking about there with the punt block. And again, they challenged the call. It was not overturned. And then Caleb Williams ended up throwing an interception, so it kind of bailed the Colts out there. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Anthony Richardson. Like I said, just not really a good game for him. Had a couple of nice, downfield throws that we've seen from him, but the intermediate stuff, the short stuff, sometimes it comes in too hot, and sometimes it's not even in the area code. And sometimes his receivers don't help him that much either, but in this case, to me, the throws were not great. He had Jonathan Taylor on what could have been a really nice swing pass on the right side, and Taylor got his fingertips on it, but it was a little out in front of him. I think he could have corralled that one, but Jonathan Taylor's not Michael Pittman Jr. He's not Joshua Downs or Alec Pierce. Not a guy that has wide receiver hands, and I think we've known that for Taylor for a while. He's not incapable of catching the ball out of the backfield, but the point is, when you've got a guy that doesn't always catch the ball out of the backfield or doesn't always catch passes, you need to maybe make it a little bit easier for him. So I put the blame on both players a little bit there. I think JT could have made the catch a little bit harder of a catch than maybe it should have been based on the throw. But, we had that play. We had one to Josh Downs where he was wide open, would have picked up a first down and just sailed way over his head. The interception to Pittman looked like Richardson was kind of throwing on his back foot across his body, which is usually the recipe for an interception. That ball, because the guy has such a monster arm, overshot the target, but then Chicago was able to get the interception on that play. The one in the end zone, I think Colts fans are going to have nightmares about that one for a long time. Again, listen, if a play's not there, a play's not there. Throw the ball away, take the 3 points. I know, again, easier said than done when you're the person watching it through the game in retrospect and watching the game at home. He finished 10 of 20 for 167 yards. No touchdowns this week on the ground, no touchdowns this week in the air, and he was sacked 1 time. But what did Richardson think about his performance, and how did it feel to get a win for the team? Let's hear from quarterback Anthony Richardson.
All right, that's a different look than last week, huh?
Something like that.
Did you? How much did you just need to feel that feeling again of winning?
We all needed that, just to change the mood around, around our facility. Of course, everybody has been working real hard to, get our first victory. We did that. We're just happy right now.
What does a game like this kind of show you about just what it takes to work through some things where there were, some mistakes and turnovers, but you guys were able to put a 4-quarter game together and make it, come out with a win?
It's the NFL, stuff not always going to go your way. Last year I learned that when we were down like 20-something points against LA, you just got to stick with it, and keep fighting. Shout out to our defense that balled them out today.
You're just not getting in there with JT for a long period. What have you come to appreciate by his game?
Man, he's a baller. I mean, obviously, y'all know that. He got the ball in his hand and just ran. Our O-line, set it up for him nice. Shane dialed up some nice run plays for him. But he's a baller. He let it spin out there. He went.
His vision, it seems like, I think on the touchdown, like he was supposed to run inside, but he bounced that on his own, that jump cut, I think. What is he? How does he see the game, I guess, do you think?
Man, he's a beast, but that's also just like communication with myself as well. They brought some pressure right there, and when I handed it to him, I told him the nickel was coming, so he jump cut inside real quick and made a decision and just ran. So shout out to JT.
You told him in the middle of the play?
Yeah. That the nickel was coming. Yeah.
Okay. You were able to pull the ball some at the end and run it yourself too. So what does it feel like to have a situation like that where you guys have a lead, and you've got Jonathan Taylor next to you, and you guys can kind of mix and match and keep them off balance like that?
Got to find ways to make it work. We know our backfield is lethal. The pass game wasn't necessarily there. I couldn't find a good rhythm, but I still got my legs. So Shane dotted up, and we just ran the ball.
The no rhythm, is that the high passes? Is that technique, or you're rushing things, or what?
Man, I don't know, man. I just got to settle down and just let the ball spin. I just got to give myself time and give myself some grace. I'm so hard on myself when I'm missing passes out there, because it's like, man, like I don't want to miss any passes. Like I said, stuff like that's gonna happen, but man, I don't want them to happen. So I just got to play better.
You made all these throws before. We've seen you, right? So is it frustrating when you miss them?
It's always frustrating when I'm missing and throwing it to the other team. I'm hitting right in the chest, and it's like, bro, you're throwing to the wrong person. So it's like I just gotta do better, man. I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna clean it up for the team for sure.
Do you feel like you're kind of pressing a little bit?
No, not necessarily pressing, but it's like, oh, my guy's wide open. Like, let me get him the ball, and I just get too excited, and I just miss him. So I just gotta let it spin and just give him the ball.
Like a breakaway layup almost.
Yeah, like it's right there. You got it, and just get too antsy right there. You just miss.
What are the conversations like on the sideline after those turnovers, where like you guys are still trying to stay positive, stay in it? So how do you kind of balance that frustration in the moment with keep playing?
I mean, we're never down. My team, they know I don't want to turn the ball over. They know that we don't want to turn the ball over as a whole. But they're sticking right beside me. Regardless of what's happening out there. Even if I am missing, they always like, bro, we got the next play. Don't worry about it. So I appreciate my guys for doing that, and I try to do that as well with myself. Like, damn, you missed the play, you threw an interception, but it's in the past, man. Go ball out now.
You guys are so.
Trey Sermon touchdown. I saw you get in there and push him as well. What does that say about the entire team for you all, like collectively, to get in there and make that happen?
Man, we just rolling for each other. We got a nice little squad. And we got each other's back. So whenever there's an opportunity, just go help somebody out. You're gonna do it. You got to find a way to do something to help the team out if you're not gonna pass the ball, correctly. So I was just trying to find a way just to help the squad.
Your own issues, good and bad. But when you see the defense, did you kind of get the vibes in the locker room that they were looking for a statement game?
Nah, not really. Our defense great. You know, I went against them, you know, all year. You know, training camp, OTAs, all that. I know the squad is great. You know, they just had to, you know, just get rolling. You know, and obviously they did that with a few takeaways for us. You know, but yeah, shout out to our defense, man.
There's a couple times where it looks like there's some field in front of you. Are you trying to like be intentional about throwing it instead of just taking off, or like making sure you throw it and giving your guys a chance rather than just taking it yourself? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's like hit or miss when it comes to that, because, you know, sometimes you can't just take it and run, but sometimes you got wideouts wide open. So it's like, man, give them the ball, give them a chance. Don't try to take the team and put them on your back all the time. You know, you got other people on the team to help you out. So I just got to connect with them when they're open like that.
Anthony, we talked all week about, everybody was saying how there's a sense of urgency to get this win. This was kind of like a need-to-win game. Now that you have it in your pocket, what's the feeling like in that locker room?
Everybody's excited. Everybody's juiced up. But, you know, Shane just told us we got a lot of stuff to clean up, which we know. All we needed was one. So hopefully we can keep the train rolling and just stack the dubs up.
That was Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson after Sunday's win against the Chicago Bears. Again, that final 21-16 at Lucas Oil Stadium. I'm going to give a couple game balls out now. Actually, 3 of them. Jonathan Taylor gets one. He had 23 carries, 110 yards, a couple touchdowns, had a big catch for 25 yards. Laiatu Latu with that game-changing sack strip. We've talked about it on this podcast. Mike and Dave and me have talked about this a lot. The Colts need a closer, a person who, when the game is on the line, can come in and change the complexion of everything. And for this week anyway, Laiatu Latu did it in a key moment for the Colts and closed the door on a Chicago comeback. And we've not been able to see plays like this since, you know, Shaq Leonard hung things up, or really from the edge perspective, it always goes back to Dwight Freeney, Hall of Famer, and Robert Mathis. Those guys' ability to get on the edge and just affect a game, you can never have enough of that. And so Latu gave them that. That's why they drafted Latu. And so he was so close this week on getting that first career sack and just could not get it. Williams is slippery. He'd get out of his grasp. Somebody would chip him at the last second, and he just couldn't get his hands on the quarterback. This time, he did. So game ball for Laiatu Latu. And then Jalen Jones as well. The Colts secondary, we've talked about before, you know, concerns about their ability to hold up and that sort of thing. But Jones had a couple really nice interceptions. One, he undercut a throw. The other one, he just made a nice reaction. And you needed those things this week. You know, the Colts knew that the Bears didn't have a great defense going into this game. And sure, you look at the box score, and the Bears had a lot of passing yards, but it wasn't very efficient. I think Williams threw the ball attempted more than 50 passes this week. And I tell you what, if you're playing a rookie quarterback, you're fine with that. Throw as many passes as you want, because and he turned the ball over 3 times. He had 2 interceptions, and then he had the fumble there on the sack from Latu. So, but hey, you needed plays from your secondary. You got them. Also, something I noticed from the box score this week, your linebackers. Zaire Franklin and E.J. Speed were your leading tacklers. 15 for Franklin, 12 for E.J. Speed. And with the struggles this run game has had, on the running defense has had, a lot of that had been on the linebacker play. Guys not being able to shed blocks, not being able to get that initial contact and not hold up. This week they were able to do it. Again, the Bears, miserable offensive line not very good, not able to create room for the running backs. But you know what? The Colts were able to hammer down on that. It would have been disconcerting if the Bears were able to mount a respectable run game, even knowing that they didn't have much of one. And the Colts held up this week. And again, not a great offense. I understand that. They're not the second coming of the 85 Bears defense or the 2000 Ravens or anything like that. But you got what you needed from the defense this week. Again, three turnovers they forced. They had 4 sacks in this game. You had Latu, you had Adetomo Adebawore with a sack, Taven Bryan with a cameo early in the game with a sack, and then Kenny Moore and Kwity Paye both split sacks. And in addition to those sacks, And the turnovers, we also had the goal line stand, which they just would not let Chicago run the ball up the middle on them. And then when they tried to run on the edge, they absolutely slammed the door on them on that speed option play. So, again, perhaps the game ball should go through to the entire defense, but I'm going to single out Latu and Jones because, they made really big plays for this team. Some of the an alarming thing did happen on that last drive, on Chicago's final offensive possession. When they scored their touchdown. We did have a few players get banged up on that one. Dallas Flowers, Kenny Moore, and Kwity Paye all having to take a break on that one. Not sure what the injury was for Flowers, but Coach Steichen did say earlier that for Kenny Moore it was a hip, and for Kwity Paye it was a quad. So we'll have to keep an update on their statuses for the upcoming game, which up next, the 1-2 Colts will face the 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. That is a 1 o'clock kickoff at Lucas Oil Stadium. That game will air on CBS 4. We will break down that matchup with Mike and Dave this week on our Thursday episode of the Colts Blue Zone podcast with a game recap. I'm Matt Adams. Thanks for listening.